On today's episode, we're going to be talking about sales, customer service, and how to hire a team that's better than you.
We believe the purpose of owning a business is funding your perfect life. Welcome to the next generation of growth and opportunity in the inspection industry. This is the Empire State of Mind. Empire State of Mind. Helping build companies with faster growth, higher profits, and more time freedom. Finally, a podcast for the home inspection industry and beyond. This is the Empire State of Mind. And this is your host, Matt Williams.
Well, welcome to the Empire State of Mind. I am so glad that you tuned in to listen to this episode. And on this episode, we have Jamie Ward. Jamie Ward from Simple Solutions Call Center. Jamie, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Absolutely glad to get you here. I know that you've been in the call center industry within the home inspection industry for quite some time. Tell me about that. How did you get started in this?
Yeah. So back in 2009, I was hired for a sales position at a company that offered home inspector solutions. Okay. And so in that, I was to, sell warranties to home inspectors, to, there was a recall product available. I'm sure as I'm talking, people know exactly who I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah, that's
yeah.
I forget what it's called. It got bought and sold. That company got bought and sold recently, didn't it?
It did. It did.
Yeah, and I think it's owned by Porch now. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what's it called now?
Inspector Services Group, but I'm not sure that they changed the name. Yeah. Got
it. Okay. But I do remember they had warranties for inspectors and the recall thing for inspectors. And I know a lot of people that listen probably use that, that service, and it's still alive and well today. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a call center, and they had all kinds of things that they offered home inspectors. So my job there was sales. And, I literally started with like a handwritten note to how, to who they wanted as clients, right? So I reached out to them, I built it up, and 3 years later they were doing
so you saw like there was just some technology differences in the industry, and you saw maybe some things, that some obstacles that maybe other people were encountering that maybe you could overcome and create basically a simpler solution, which is, I think, the name of your company, Simple Solution.
Exactly.
Right. And I love that. So you saw some obstacles out in the market. You saw other companies doing what they were doing, and you're like, I think I can do this in a better way. And so you jumped on it. That's incredible. I think that's how a lot of great businesses start, is they look at an industry and they say, you know what, I see this, like, man, I think there's a simpler way to do this, or a better way to do this. And I think a lot of great companies start that way, with that mindset of how can I provide a better product to my customer. And I love that was like something you saw and that you did.
Absolutely.
So you have like a sales background, and then you're in the inspection industry, or just rather real estate industry, if you kind of broaden it out a little bit, right? Like you were involved with inspectors on that one side, but if you're doing home warranties and things of that nature, then like you have a different perspective on the real estate market, and probably even the home inspection market.
Yeah. So I was dealing with all of it. And, I know that there are a lot of home inspectors out there who find value in those warranties, a 90-day warranty with your home inspection or whatever.
Yeah. There's some companies that really use those and some that don't. And there's a pros and cons to that whole thing, right? Yeah.
There is. So, to be able to see both sides of it, not only how the client interacted with the warranty company, but how the home inspector interacted with the warranty company and how it, the client then viewed the inspector because they were offered the warranty through the inspector. And so, yeah, there was a lot there that I got to see and work with internally to give me a better idea of what people really want, what people need, what is needed within the industry. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So you got this thing going, um, and and you have a heavy sales background,
I do.
and so yeah, so like doing sales, like what are things that like what are things that maybe people overlook in the sales process that you think are like the missing steps people forget about or they don't really fully understand to be able to help them do a better job on selling?
Yeah. So, you know, I think, everyone is capable of being a salesperson to some degree. Um, I do think that some people are born with just a ability to relate to people and
Mm-hmm.
be able to communicate exactly what they want and then kind of guide conversations to where you want it to go, right?
Yeah,
So,
I get that. Like
yeah,
there's like a natural, like people have like a natural gift in that area, but there's also
right.
skills that people can develop. I think you're right. You said like anybody really can be a salesperson
Yeah.
if you take the time to really develop the skill set. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, you're right. Like I think
Yeah.
I was kind of born with some of the natural like gift of gab and to be able to
Yep.
like and just talk with people and know kind of like, hey, this is where we need to take this conversation. But through the years, I've also done skill development to help enhance that and make that better.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like even if you don't have that raw talent, um, I don't know. I guess everybody has some level of the raw talent, but developing the skills, right? Anybody can do
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. And it's good for me. I share this with our clients. A lot of home inspectors, they're home inspectors, and they're not sales gurus, or
Right.
marketing geniuses. They're just, hey, I'm really good at this and this is what I want to do. And so being able to help them with their email templates, with their marketing platforms, and reminding them, if they're using a certain system, hey, this system can do this, this, and this for you. Um, and allowing us to help set that up so that if they're not that good with sales, the odds of numbers are in their favor, right? If
So
they're
wait a minute. Hold on a
contacting.
second. Like you said, you run a call center, but now you're talking about getting into their software and making. Do you guys offer those services as well?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if
So
someone's using
complete.
Spectora or ISN or any of those back end CRM systems that are helping manage their business,
Yeah.
you help with setting up the follow ups and all the other things to make sure that it's like part of the marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then
That
going
is
through.
extremely valuable.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Well, not many
You
people
know,
do that. Like that's
yeah.
something that's really above and beyond what you would. When I think call center, I don't think that you're going to help me with that.
No.
I think
No.
you're just going to answer the phone and be like, "What do you want?"
Right. No. So we go complete virtual office. And it's for the betterment of everyone. If their emails are functioning the way that they are supposed to, if they have additional emails going out that are offering additional services to clients after they book an inspection, if they have, 60-day follow-ups or coupons that they send their agent for referring a client. These are all areas that they have the ability to book more inspections. So I'm helping myself in the way that I'm helping them bring more callers and bring more clients and so that we can book those inspections and fill up their calendar. So yeah, that's absolutely one of the ways that we help.
That's incredible. So, so if somebody's like, what are some of the emails or things that you found to be super effective? What are some of the strategies that you've seen super effective in in like the automated emails and follow-ups and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think follow-ups are so important, but then breaking it down into, the types of inspections that they had, right? So,
Oh, right, because the
um
ancillary services, stuff like that.
exactly. So we wanna make sure that if somebody, had a radon test and they didn't have a mitigation system put in, you wanna go back and follow up with them to test again or whatever if their levels were kind of right there in that area. Um, if somebody has a new build, um, you're going to want to send an email out to follow up with them 9 or 10 months later because their 1 year warranty from the builder is going to expire and you want to make sure that you have everything submitted to them. So, I mean, there are so many different kinds of emails that we can help set up for those clients based on their services, just to make sure that you're hitting everyone who you need to hit in a timely manner.
That's great. So all right. So in my inspection business, we have a bunch of different services we offer. The most common like trifecta that we see is the home inspection, a sewer scope, and a termite inspection.
Yeah.
That's the three like that almost every house, in my opinion, should get those. In addition to that, there's radon testing and mold testing and other environmental things that we have. And so we, some of those, depending on where they live, it's more or less recommended different ways. But
Mhm.
but if we were to set it, like if I know like that trifecta is the way to go, if somebody say they booked the home and the termite, but they didn't book a sewer scope, you can automate that reminder email to say, hey, notice you didn't book a sewer scope. Do you want to add that service? Like, so is that something that you guys help set up?
Yes, absolutely. So it depends on what system that they utilize. If they're using ISN, the email go out a little bit different. Spectora actually has emails in there that you can send out, and they can just click. And if if they wanted to add that service, they can just click, and it automatically adds it to the inspection. So, yeah, there are
Oh, that's
different.
really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's
So it's like an
different.
automated upsell that's already
Yep.
built into the system.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
I know that that's possible. We actually have some of that running inside of our company now,
Hmm.
but to know that like there's a lot of inspectors that they don't fully utilize the software that they're paying for.
Yeah.
And right. And so bringing in an expert like you to come in and help them, to set that up, that could really earn them a lot more revenue. If, even if 20 to 30% of the people added a sewer scope that didn't have a sewer scope, like that could really add up to more sales, more revenue.
Yep.
And it's helping the client because maybe they were not aware of a sewer scope, or they were thinking, maybe I'm not really sure. And then a little while later, they're like, yeah, I probably should do that. But if you're
Yeah.
reminding them, then, you're really
Yeah.
helping the client make sure they're protecting this asset that they're purchasing. And I mean, the
Absolutely.
services we all offer in the home inspection space are helping buyers have a better idea of what they're getting into.
Yep. And I think, on that point, what is important is that the people who are on the phones are educated in this industry and in the
Hmm.
additional services. So they understand, um, why is radon testing important? Why do, I need a termite inspection or a wood destroying insect inspection? Um, what is done during the mold inspection? Is it a visual? Is it swabs? Is it, air quality?
Right.
So making sure that my staff is well versed and educated so they know, hey, this home was built in 1972. I think it'd be a good idea if you got lead-based paint testing, just
Right.
those kind of flags. Or if the client is in Florida on the coast and they offer wind mit and insurance inspections, being able to explain to the client why they need those and what those
Right.
would be valuable to them for. Hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're in a hurricane zone, it's something you're going to have to get done,
Yep.
and for your insurance process. So you might as well let us do it while we're there. Right.
Yep.
And move on. fill out that paperwork and get everything ready for your insurance quotes and everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so now you have this call center of educated people helping. It's funny. You said something earlier that home inspectors are, they're good at inspecting houses, but oftentimes the type of personality that is really excellent at inspecting houses is oftentimes not the type of personality that is really great at marketing and sales. And so I think it's great that you guys come in as a piece of the marketing and sales solution for the company. I mean, obviously there's the outside marketing, which is getting your phone to ring. But then once your phone rings, you have to sell. And so I love that you guys have that approach and that mentality on helping, like once somebody actually hits the phone or the website or whatever they're emailing in or whatever they might do. I have this one guy that actually, this one broker that he books us via DM on Instagram. So he'll DM us and so I normally just, we end up copying, pasting, and someone in the office calls him back. But it's funny. I think he may have converted to calling the office now or texting the office now rather than DMing through Instagram. But that's how it started. It was really kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting, something interesting that you brought up because the industry is always evolving, right? And so, when I started, people were only calling it, right? Like they were only calling. But as we progressed, having the ability to reach clients and have them reach us in multiple ways is pretty significant, especially in today's day and age where realtors don't want to pick up the phone and call. They don't want to return their voicemails for access information. So I kind of went with that a little bit within my company, and we offer our clients a free SMS number. They can put that on their website. They can share it with their clients. They can use it themselves. But when it comes in, it's automatically tagged for their business. So we know that these SMS messages are coming from this business. The other thing is an online chat box. I provide on their website a chat box where they can, anyone who goes to their website has any questions about any services, they can go ahead and utilize that chat box and it comes directly through to our agents.
I love that. So, because you see that on like large corporations, like, if you want to, like the other day I had to deal with my cell phone service. And so cell phone service provider has a chat box. And I went on and I jumped in, and then there's an agent that jumps in and we're chatting back and forth and fix my problem via chat. You see that in large corporations. You don't see that in small business very often. And so it's interesting how like a smaller company, a handful of employees maybe, or maybe just a single man operator out in the field can have a website now that is nice and crisp and clean. And then there's a chat feature. And then if it says like call or text, all of a sudden your contact points are, it makes you look like a pretty big company, or at bare minimum, you at least have your stuff together. Like you're doing things in a very cutting edge modern way. And that's a fantastic that you guys supply that. I mean, that's interesting. Like when you first said call center, you offer a lot more, and you do a lot more than just a normal call center. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. And so now you've got employees, and they work from home, I believe, right?
They do. So all of my staff has worked from home since I began. I just didn't see the need for a building overhead, all of that, when I could take that money and focus in on developing the things that my clients would need or want.
And then it also widens out the net of who you can hire, because if your building is in Indianapolis, then you can only hire people who are capable of driving to Indianapolis to the office to work, where you might find a high talent person that lives in Oklahoma City or Portland, Oregon, or wherever. I mean, now your talent quality, the depth of pool that you're now can pull from on your talent, it gets huge. rather than
Yes.
geographically limited. And in today's day and age, I mean, even now I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you're
Yeah.
in, I think you said Indiana. Is that right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
correct.
So here we are, states away, having a fantastic conversation because of
Yeah.
technology. And so the same thing is true. Like now your talent pool gets bigger. I mean,
It
how,
was
like,
great. I'm sorry. It was great during, and I'm going to say it was great during COVID because
yeah,
everyone else was trying to figure out how to work from home and how to manage your team from home. And it's something that we had been doing all around.
yeah. So many
And
companies were struggling with that. Yeah.
it's such a, anything like that can happen. And if you have a brick and mortar building, anything can happen, right? What if you lose power? What if something happens and then nobody can work, nobody can answer the phones, nobody is handling your
Wow.
business. Um, but in this case, what are the odds of 20 employees all losing power at the same time in different
Right.
states? So
Oh
um,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if one
yes,
employee has a power or internet issue or something, the company continues to operate while that's getting fixed. And that
no
happens. In
problem.
fact, last week, something happened in your area that knocked
Mhm.
out power at your place for 5 hours, you were saying.
Yeah,
And it's like, so
yeah.
for 5 hours, you can't work, but guess what? Everybody else can.
Business goes on. Yeah.
Business goes on.
So
Yeah. I love that decentralized, spread out. That's interesting. That adds that layer of like redundancy to the system.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of companies that had to learn how to go remote during COVID,
yeah,
um, and your business model, you were ready. Like
yeah.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you obviously have to have some kind of a hiring process to hire this team members remote, and you got to be able to manage them remotely. And
Yep.
I mean, you've been doing this for so long. I imagine you are probably just pretty good at it at this point in time. Um,
It seems to be working out. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
incredible. Yeah. So you got this team. So how do you hire people? What are things that you look for when you're hiring staff?
yeah, so, we utilize Indeed, and social media as well, to kind of reach out when we're in those periods of hiring. And then, Indeed has a neat feature that they do a phone screen on candidates. So
Okay.
I'm able to hear their voice before I
Oh,
even do an interview with them. And you may think that that sounds like, oh gosh, that's being really picky and, you want to hear their voice. But you'd be surprised at how many people record those phone screens and they have kids screaming in the background and dogs barking, or they just don't sound professional at all. So the ones that do make it through, then um, there is a series of assessments that we have them take. How good are they at following instructions, listening to detailed information, um, all of these things, your grammar, that's so important too,
right.
because
You even send an email out on behalf of some company.
right,
Yeah, your grammar
exactly.
better be reasonably solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be
So,
professional. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there who, yeah, I want to work from home, but then they don't, have the actual capability of working from home. They think that they can, not have their kids in daycare or something and make money. So
Mm,
that's difficult to get through, the initial screening process to even get to the pool of people that we would want to hire. And then, interview process and training. We have built a wonderful training site for people, and it's a lot of it is self-guided that they can go through and do the training. But the initial training is like 2 weeks long, just to make sure that they understand fully what it is we do and why we do it. So
right. Yeah. No, it
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
It's so you have very much a sales mindset, and the way you talk, I can tell like you have like an operations kind of perspective too, like as far as like how to put the pieces together, and how do you stay on top of all of that? Like, do you have like a leadership team that helps you with that? Is
Yeah, I
this
do. I do.
okay?
I have an amazing team. You know, a lot of call centers or virtual office, they have a lot of trouble with turnover within their call center, and I think that's one of the things that I always hear from home inspectors is, I was with this call center, but I kept getting new people on my account and they didn't understand what I was doing. So I kept having to retrain them and all of that. So, um, one of the things that we do is, we don't have turnover. I have
Hmm.
people who have been with me since 2011. I
Wow.
have people who, um, I think the last person we hired was like a year ago.
Hmm.
So they
What
come
do you
and they
attribute that to?
stay.
Yeah.
Just
What, like, what do you attribute them staying?
a positive work environment, a non-toxic work environment, the ability to get the information you need to do your job in a quick, efficient manner. Um, so just creating a workspace that everyone doesn't feel like they're banging their head on a wall at the end of the day, because it can be really redundant. You're right. Like, you're
Right.
getting calls nonstop. You're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And
That same
y-
conversation over and over and over again.
yeah,
And then
so
you got to be like,
people,
oh, I'm so glad you're buying a house. And you're like, I've said that 100
yeah,
times today. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It could
right.
totally be
Yeah.
redundant. I hadn't really thought
Yes.
about that. You're like, yeah, it's totally redundant. The same thing. And have you thought about getting a sewer scope? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like just true. You're having the
Yeah.
same conversation over and over and over again. You're booking the same thing, and you got to like provide that level of care and concern for everyone. That's
Yep.
emotionally draining for sure.
It
In
is.
it in itself is like you got to be able to like emote enough over the phone to be able to help someone feel comfortable to talk to you. Because if you don't emote enough,
Right.
it's going to feel like talking to someone
Absolutely.
who hates their life and hates their
So,
job, and
mhm.
and that's not good, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So one of the things is, just creating a workspace that um, people want to come to work, they want to engage, they're happy about doing their job, they're happy about a place where they work, and they care about the place where they work and the clients that we have. Um, and then also really amazing management, right? Like, I have some girls that are on management that are just amazing. We have
Hmm.
our weekly meetings and we go over things like, do you think that inspectors would want this added to their service? Or does this kind of report um, benefit the inspectors? What can we do if we have a difficult client where we can get the team together and um, go over anything that is missing that they're not understanding?
Right.
So I think that the whole background operations of it is so, so important to keeping, not only keeping your staff, but keeping them informed and keeping them happy. And um, that way, and that passes on to our clients, and paying them a good wage as well. I know a
Right.
lot of people have come to me and said, well, do you pay your staff members commission every time they book an inspection? Don't you think that that would be beneficial to get them to book more inspections? Well, yes and no, right? Like,
Okay.
yeah, maybe if you offered commission, they would be more inclined to book inspections. But if you don't have a solid staff or a not so happy staff, maybe they're just booking inspections that shouldn't be booked, or people are calling back and canceling because they were
Right.
felt pressured into it.
Like
Um,
oversold. Right.
yeah, so I think there's a fine line there. I know that there's some call centers that do offer that, but I don't think that that's a value. here. So,
Well, right. And I think it has to match your culture of your company and who are you? And I mean, they say leadership goes from the top down. And so everything rises and falls with leadership. And so if Jamie wants to run a company this way, then your culture is going to naturally just flow out of who you are and then if you're intentional about it, it just cascades all the way down through the entire company. The fact that you keep employees for as long as you do is a really good sign that your culture, company culture, is probably congruent with who you are as a person, which then translates into a stress-free, non-toxic work environment. And
right.
yeah, I get it. Like there's different business models. I think even in the inspection industry, some companies offer like a commission pay split for their inspectors. And some say I'm just going to pay you hourly, and some guys say I'm going to pay you salary. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way on the inspection side. I think it has to just match what your company culture is and what you believe the right way is to keep your employees happy and to keep them paid well and have them feel like properly rewarded and compensated for the work that they're doing.
And valuable.
And valuable, right? Absolutely. They got to feel valuable and part of the team. And whether you pay them in commissions or not, I don't know. Ultimately it's like the how-to is like, well, how are we going to do this? Well, ultimately, if we're getting the right thing done at the end of the day, if we're hitting our goals at the end of the day and hitting our metrics and our KPIs and everything else, then right, like how we get there. Sometimes it's like, well, I think every company has to figure out their path to get to the end result that they really want.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And so, you got to hire the right people, take care of them. This is what I'm hearing you saying. You're hiring the right people, you take care of them, you create a culture and an environment in your business that's not a frustrating place to go to work. Right. They're paid well, they're enjoying what they're doing, or they feel like they're fairly compensated. And then you end up with a whole team that sticks around and stays. They say the most expensive hire is the wrong hire.
That is so true. That is so true. And
they say hire slow and fire fast, I think is what I've heard said. Yeah.
So it's not always easy. Sometimes we think we have a good one, and then, a couple weeks in, they're just not understanding or not getting it. And, I would rather cut ties at that point than to continue on and have them more confused or, not understanding, because there is a lot to learn, not only within the inspection industry so that you're asking the right questions, but for my company as a whole. What is it that we will do for a client? What is it that we are allowed to do? And giving my staff members the ability to, see an email and handle it, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to go here and ask this person, or then this person, then that person. My clients don't care about who's handling it. They just want it handled. Right. So,
well, and if your company culture meshes, because you're supporting another company. So if your company culture meshes with the company you're supporting, it should create a good environment of high trust. And having a high trust environment, I think, is crucial to having success. And so if you've created that with your employees and your staff, obviously they stay around for a long time. And so if you create that with your clients as well, the home inspector, and the home inspector goes, you know what, I trust Jamie. I trust her team. I trust her company. And then when you guys are handling things like that, that creates a great environment for everybody involved, is a high trust environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have clients who have been with us also since 2011, or, a long time. So we have seen companies, evolve. And, it was like a one-man operation, and then he hired someone else, and we helped him with that, and then helped him with, maybe his pricing wasn't up to par. He needed to gain a little bit more. Let's sit down. Let's have a powwow. Let's see how we can engage more people. Or he has a new service that he wants to offer. How do we market this to people? How do we upsell this to people? Really sitting down with your clients and listening to what they want, and then being able to provide what they need is so valuable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that really is valuable. I love that you're building that that culture within your company and with your clients and your employees and everybody else. It really sounds pretty incredible. And what I really love is I feel like you have a really good like customer service focus too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like how does that weigh into the whole thing? Like how do you so you have customers, you have clients, right? You have people like me that would own a home inspection company, but then you have customers that are calling in. Um, how do you balance all of that and realtors and everybody else? Like it's a wide dynamic range of people that are calling in all the time.
It is. It absolutely is. So, um, being able to know how to talk to all people. So if a client is calling in, being able to get the information that you need from them in the easiest way possible. They're going through a stressful situation. They're buying a home, they need a home inspection, they may need, insurance appraiser guy come out. They may all these things, right, are
Yeah.
happening in their life. Really the easiest thing they should be able to do is pick up the phone and schedule a home inspection. Um, so making that easy, if they call in, they have the address of the property, we can pull up the property details. We don't need to ask you a million questions that maybe you didn't notice if it had a crawl space. Maybe you didn't notice if it, um, had things on the windows or whatever. So these are
Right.
things we're looking up the property. We're verifying, okay, I see that it's this square foot. I see that it was this year built. Based on the year built, I would recommend this service to you based on the size of the home. If you're getting this service, you may
Mm-hmm.
want to, being able to negotiate that like it's a conversation
I
rather
love that.
than somebody is calling in and we're selling them something. The last thing they need is somebody's selling them one more thing and they got to think, oh my God, do I need this? Do I need to call my agent? I have no idea what I'm doing. Right.
Right.
So, then on the flip side of that, you get agents who call in and I need to quick book an inspection. Here's
Yeah.
the least amount of information in the fastest way possible. Put me on your soonest available. Send me the information. So you got to know that, you know, in this much time, a short amount of time, you're getting all the information that you need to be able to book that inspection completely for them in the quickest way possible because they don't want to be on the phone, you know?
Right. And the realtors have done this 100 times. Like
Yeah.
they don't need to, right. So to them, yeah, because they're an industry professional, they've done this 100 times. They don't need anybody to explain anything. They're just like, bam, 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 bam. I got other things to do.
Yeah.
Hurry this thing along. Whereas the home buyer is like, they buy a house every 5 to 7 years. They don't even remember the last time they had a home inspection. And they had one, they know they did, but they don't remember any of the details. And so,
Right.
yeah, you have to slow down and really take your time to explain that to a home buyer. Whereas a realtor, you may or may not have to explain very much to.
Right. Exactly. So it's all
Yeah.
about um, realizing who you're talking to and then kind of developing that persona to deal with that person. So it could it could be different every time. I had a
Right.
client who was up in Canada and he had a TV show and actually a couple TV shows and this whole business built around his name and his company, right? So when people would call in to schedule inspections, you never knew if you were getting somebody calling in who saw the show and they wanted to ask questions about the show, or they were somebody who needed help. They have a certain type of home and they were hoping that this inspector would go out and help them maybe for his show. So
Right.
it just depends. Every company is so unique. You need to be able to, for me, hone in on their uniquenesses, but also kind of keep them in the call center box, right? Like we
Right.
can only do these things for you. And it's a lot, but there are
It is a
some
lot.
things that we can't go outside that box because it would disrupt the flow for everyone, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That totally
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. So this is been fascinating. We started this and I was thinking we're going to talk about call centers, but you actually have the sales process and your team building, and there's really just a lot more to you, and just as a person and as a company than maybe
Yeah.
people would initially think when they hear call center. And so
Yeah.
you really help with the whole marketing back end solution, and you keep it simple, like your company's called
Yeah.
Simple Solutions. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been fantastic. I imagine there's people that maybe want to get a hold of you or learn more about your company. What's a good way for people to learn more about you or get a hold of you or reach out?
Sure, absolutely. So, they can go right to the website. They can book an appointment with me. They can fill out a form and get some more information in regards to our pricing and everything that we do.
What's your
The
website?
website is simplesolutionscc.com,
Okay.
or on Facebook, social media. It's just Jamie Ward or
Okay.
Simple Solutions, either one.
Okay. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for, this is a great conversation, and I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you around, maybe at some different inspection events.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
You've been listening to Empire State of Mind for the home inspection industry and beyond. Our passion is to elevate the home inspection industry with mindset, strategy, and tools. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. For more, follow on Instagram at IEB Coaching. And don't forget to hit the website at www.iebcoaching.com. Learn about IEB at no cost and have all your questions answered on our open call once a month on the third week of the month. We hope to see you there, and we'll see you next time on the Empire State of Mind.